Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. So as you can probably tell by the title, I am going to be giving you the story and my experience of buying my first horse unseen. And my first horse was she was 6 months old when we put the deposit down, but she was 8 months old when she came. So yeah, it was quite the experience. It's safe to say I will not be buying a horse unseen again, and I probably will not be buying a foal again, but yeah, it was definitely an experience, so I'm going to be telling you all about that in today's video. So first things first, I got like really obsessed with Appaloosas, so I was looking at Appaloosa stud farms, and I really wanted a foal at the time because I was like, oh my god, it would be so cute, so fun to train it up all by myself, do all this stuff, blah blah blah. So I was looking at Appaloosa stud farms. Now I live in Uganda, which is like East Africa, it's next to Kenya. There's no horses to buy in Uganda basically, so you have to look at the countries around it. So I was looking at South Africa because a lot of people buy horses from South Africa and transport them to Uganda, but it was quite an expensive journey. So I was looking at Appaloosas in South Africa, and at this point it was kind of just like an idea. It hadn't yet been like official that I was getting the horse. It was kind of more like I was just looking for the sake of looking. And then I found one of the accounts on Facebook tagging a Appaloosa stud farm in Kenya that they had sold a horse to. So I clicked on the link and I checked out the page of the stud farm in Kenya, because Kenya's a lot closer and it's a lot easier to get horses from there. So I was looking and I messaged them because there wasn't much on their Facebook page. So I messaged them, asked, hi, do you have horses for sale? Do you have the foals for sale? And all that. And they were like, yeah, we do. We have these foals. Like currently they had 2, and then they had another mare that was about to give birth when I messaged them, and one of the foals was Estrella. She was the older one, and she was the one that was a horse basically. The other one was pony, and I wanted a horse, and I did want a mare just because then in the future I could breed from her if I wanted to. So yeah, I really wanted a mare, and yeah, I was like, wow, this horse it sounds perfect. And the thing is, she was a bay horse, so it kind of like took away the fact that I wanted an Appaloosa. Like, she's still an Appaloosa because that's her breed, but I was looking at Appaloosas because of the colour, and I know you shouldn't look at them because of the colour, but I did. I thought that they were beautiful, and then I saw Estrella and I was like, I want this horse. I want her. She's beautiful, first of all. She looks like she has an amazing temperament. They were sending me loads of videos of her and pictures and all that, and after I said that I was interested, they kept me updated. Now here's the thing. I actually said I was interested before I even spoke to my parents, and then I spoke to them, and then we all were like, okay, let's do it. There's not going to be another chance for us to get a horse with this breeding and for this price basically. I'm not going to share her price because that's very personal, but her breeding is very good. So yeah, we were like, okay, let's do it. So when she turned 6 months old, we put a deposit down so then no one else could get her. And yeah, so every week they sent me updates and videos, and she was looking good. But I did notice something was a bit off. So her stomach kind of like swooped down, like drooped down a bit more than it should. And I asked them about it, and they were like, no, it's fine, she's growing, it's all fine, she's supposed to look like that, the vet's seen her, blah blah blah. Now here's the thing where I went wrong. I was too trusting in these people. Now that's not to say I wouldn't buy a horse from them again. I had a great first buying experience with them, like in the way that they were so, there's dust everywhere, in the way that they were so friendly and so kind and all that, and they helped with a lot of stuff, but I was too trusting. So that was when we started talking to my yard owner about it. So originally we were not going to keep Estrella at this yard that she's at. We were going to keep her somewhere much closer to our house so I could see her every day, but circumstances changed, and I'll get to that in a bit. So I spoke to my yard owner about it, and I was discussing transport and stuff with her, because we put a deposit down without even figuring out the transport to get her from Kenya to Uganda, and that's quite a big thing. So my yard owner was like, well, I'm going down there, I'm going to Kenya to pick up some horses anyway, so she can bring mine on the lorry with her. So that's what happened. We waited 2 months before the lorry could go. So she was 8 months old by the time the lorry went to go and pick her up. And they got to Kenya, they picked the horse up. She was not very enthusiastic about going on the lorry. She'd never been on a lorry before, and she was leaving her mother. They hadn't weaned her fully at this point, which they had told me that they did, but they didn't. And we could tell by the way that she wouldn't leave her mother. She was still living in the same field as her mother. She was like screaming her head off when she left and all that. So yeah, that was one problem. And then they got to like the checkpoint, which was at one of my yard owner's friend's house, where they have horses as well in Kenya, and the woman was like, well, this horse is not healthy. So I got a call at 8 o'clock in the morning saying that we have a problem. Basically the problem was that this horse that we have just bought and didn't vet and didn't go and look at, we just bought it completely blind, this horse has got a worm infestation. And if we travel her, there is a chance that she may not make it. And we were given 2 options. So we'd never met this horse before. We didn't really we weren't attached to her. And it was like we had to make the decision where first we send her back. Second, we leave her in Kenya to get treated until November and then bring her, but that would cost more. Or we bring her back, risk losing her on the journey, but if she gets here, we treat her immediately when she gets here, and we keep her at the yard that my yard owner is at. Because the yard we were going to keep her at, we told them about the situation, and they could not take on a horse that may be that has a disease. Basically, it's not necessarily a disease, but has a problem. They didn't have the facilities, they didn't have the medicine, they didn't have the experienced people to deal with that. So we were like, yeah, so this yard is completely off the cards. We are not keeping her there. Even if she comes over healthy, we're not going to. We're going to keep her at my yard owner's yard, which is the yard that she's at now. And it's a nicer yard in general. Like, it's nicer for the horses, it's nicer for the people. It's just so much better. So my dad and I discussed it, and we were like, let's just bring her over. It's going to cost more to keep her in Kenya. She comes over, the chances of her actually not managing the journey are quite slim. So we just had to be aware of the risks, but we were like, yeah, let's just do it. Like, what's the point of getting the horse if we can't actually get it until November, and then she'll probably be fine. So they set off on their journey to Uganda, and throughout the journey my foal got really attached to a pony that was on the lorry. So they made it to Gander all safe, and they got her off the lorry and immediately treated her, like drowned her with wormer and all that, and kept her in an isolation paddock with this pony that she got attached to. So she was there for a few days. It was only a few days, and then like 2 or 3 days after she arrived, we got to take her to the big field and put her in with the rest of the herd. And at first I was so worried about, like, it's a herd of 15 ponies that she was joining, and she was so small and fragile that I was so worried. So we put her in, and at first it did not go well. The ponies were all chasing her, and I thought that she was going to get kicked and we were going to have to like intervene, but it all settled down eventually. Her coat condition was quite dull and like shaggy and yeah, like kind of gross to touch, but after changing like her feed a bit, she looks great, and we've just been doing the best we can with her. There have been a few times where I've been like, well, did I make a mistake by getting a foal? Am I wasting my time? Did I waste money? Like, why didn't I just get just a cheap project horse or something, instead of buying a young horse that I can't ride for 3 years? Yeah, but then there's certain things that make me realize that I made the right decision, like when she has breakthroughs and stuff, and like you've been working with for something for so long. Like when I've been working with picking her feet up, she used to be really bad, but now she just lets you do it. She's getting better with a lot of stuff, like you can tie her up and leave her now, whereas before you wouldn't be able to leave her at all. She used to like whinny, pull and all of that, and yeah, so I will never be buying Unseen again, because I'm not saying that these people lied to me, I'm just saying that maybe they weren't as educated as they should be if you have a breeding farm. What happened was that they didn't worm the foal the right amount of times when she was born, so with the right wormers, so that caused her to get the worm infestation, and obviously that made her stomach go really like low down and bloated, and her coat go all dull and all that. I'm not saying I won't buy from these people again, I'm just not going to buy Unseen. I'm also not going to share any of the names or anything of anything, because it's privacy, and like this isn't against anyone, it's just my experience of buying my first horse. Definitely guys, if you're buying your first horse, definitely go and talk to someone who is experienced in it. That is where I went wrong. I should have spoken to my yard owner like from the beginning, had her help in everything, but I didn't, and I've learnt my lesson now, and that will not be happening again. But I am glad, because everything happens for a reason, and now I have this wonderful pony who is growing really nicely, and she looks incredible at the moment. But yeah, and also do not come at me and say she's too skinny, because you would much rather have a skinny youngster than an overweight youngster, because overweight, it puts so much strain and pressure on their joints that it can cause problems further down the line. Now, Estrella is not skinny, she is the perfect weight. Yes, she has been skinny before, but with the condition that she came to us in, I would much rather her be skinny than that. But yeah, she's growing really nicely, and I am really happy that we did get her, because she's an amazing horse. She's got an amazing attitude, and I'm really excited for her future, and it has kind of worked out perfectly with these things that are happening in my life right now, that are there's going to be some big changes for me at the end of November. So it kind of works out with her age and everything. So I don't regret it now. I did have some doubts throughout the last year and stuff, but I don't regret it. And I have learnt my lesson, and I will not be buying a horse unseen ever again, and I will not be buying a horse that isn't vetted, and I will not be using the buyer's vet, because that is obviously a big problem. But yeah guys, that was my experience of buying my first horse. I know that it's not like all amazing, but it is what it is, and I think I got quite lucky, but I also like it could have gone so badly, but that's why I got lucky. And I got really lucky with the horse that I have, because she's so easy, and touch wood, she's so easy and willing to learn, and she's so smart that she learns these things really quickly. Like a few months ago, me and one of the grooms at the yard were working on desensitizing her with a tarpaulin. Nothing. She let us throw it over her, no reaction, nothing. She was just perfect, and she was walking over it, she was standing on it, and she's just got such a good attitude towards everything. So I am actually really happy that I did end up getting her, because in the long run I am going to be so glad about it. But obviously, as I've said, I've learnt my lesson, and yeah, it could have gone so badly. We could have lost the horse before even meeting her. Yeah. But anyway guys, I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that if you were going to get your first horse, you do not get it without someone experienced, without going to see the horse first, and without getting it vetted by a vet that doesn't know the owners of the horse. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't. Let me know in the comments your disaster horse buying stories, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye everybody.